going on, DJ Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the Valero Texas Open. As usual, I am here with everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
And there's one more Canadian everybody loves this week, and he's done quite well at this tournament. So we'll talk about old Coco
Chanel.
Yeah, you got it. We'll get to him.
Coco Chanel.
Though,
will I get in trouble for doing the Crip sign on YouTube? Will I get in trouble for that? Anyway.
No, I don't think so.
No.
But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone, so Masters a week away. Excited for that one. We might even have a earlier pod/show out to you guys. So excited for that. And then, of course, our sponsor, ShipItNation.com. Huge news this week. If you've been waiting to check it out, now's the time to do so. Go to ShipItNation.com. Go to the PGA only packages and go to weekly. And if you put the code PGA free, PGA FREE, you get the week for free. You have till Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Check out everything on the site for the week before the Masters. So it's a spot to go out, check it out, see what you think. Other than that, Kenny, my boy, Jaeger Bombs gets the job done, finally. And man, it's one of those ones where no bombs dropped. It was actually a Scotty Scheffler miss that gives the guy the W. But anyway, he's been grinding. I will give you shit a little bit. You said on Twitter, I don't know how this would, this is like it was supposed to happen, or it's like, how could it have happened type thing, kind of. And I'll let you defend yourself. But remember, the start of this season, we had this conversation. I was like, you're discounting my boy. I said, all these 9ths and 14ths and 13ths and made cuts, they're like a stroke or two away either way, but he was good on the Corn Ferry. So I was like, it's got to be something.
He was really good on the Corn Ferry Tour. Really good. Yeah.
I'll let you talk. I'll let you go to him, but I was happy to see him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good win for him. But I mean, the thing is, this was his 135th PGA Tour event, okay? In the first 127 events he's played, he is best finished with 5th. Once. I mean, 127 events on tour, and you finish inside the top 5 one time, I'm probably not going to bet you. You're going to bet on you for an outright win. You know what I'm saying? Right? But then he had 8 events ago, he had to get his first third place. 2 weeks later, he had another third place. And at that point in time, I was like, okay, now it looks like he should be ready for a win because he knows how to win. He has 6 Corn Ferry Tour wins, 1 behind the record, right? So obviously he knows how to win. I mean, it's not like it's easy to win on the Corn Ferry Tour. It's just almost just as hard as winning on the PGA Tour, right? And so, that was my point. Like, it seemed like it was coming, and it also was sort of out of the blue, if you think about it, just from a long game perspective. Because 127 events on tour, 0 top 5s. 0 top 5s. 127 events on tour. Last 8 events on tour, 2 top 3s go in, right? So you see the top 3s that he got, and you sort of get on him, and even I got on him a little bit more. I might have even bet him once in the last 8 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I didn't bet him this past week, which I probably should have, looking back on it, because he was pretty fucking high in my model. If I remember, he was like 4th or 5th in my model. I played him a bunch, in DraftKings, and again, another great week on DraftKings. Cash lineup. People were giving me shit about the Campos punt that I had last week, but you know what? I finished in the 1% in cash games. So I was 5 or 6 because I got the golfers I wanted, and because I rostered a $5,300 golfer. It's basically a punt play. It's hit or miss in that situation. Not as extreme this week, but that type of, strategy in cash, now that we have this 5,000 range, it sort of changes things when you think about it, because you can get 3 guys in a 9K range or above very easy. Go down to the low 5,500, 5,300, pick your favorite punt play, right? And you're like, if they make the cut, awesome. If they don't, you got the 3 studs you want. Plus, you can go mid to high 7K with the rest of your other 2 picks. Like, you can have 5 guys who you think can win this event, right? Especially if they do this at, say, the Masters, right? If they do this next week at the Masters and go all the way down to 5,000, I mean, you can easily have 5 guys. I mean, you might not even have to go down to the 5K range to do it because the field is so strong, right? But you can go down a lot and get 5 studs. Who you think can win?
Spoiler alert. The Masters pricing is out. They did not do that.
Oh, I see. I knew it was out, I just didn't look at it yet because I get confused. I have too much shit going on in my head with the Valero and the Masters. I knew it was out, but I didn't see it. Okay, so that changes things for the Masters, which sucks because I really like that strategy a lot in cash. If you guys see it, 3 studs that you think you win, 9K and up, 1 punt play down below, and then 2 guys in the 7K to low 8K range that you think has a good shot at top 5. I mean, you can find those every week. Last week I had Detry and Hubbard were my 2 middle plays that weren't a part of my cash game cornerstones. Of course, Detry coming in second was helpful. And that's why I was in the 1%. But let's talk about the event. Jaeger, Scotty, that 5-footer he missed on 18. He had a couple of bad strokes on 15, a couple days in a row that cost him. Well, but it's incredibly hard to win every week. And we think that Scotty probably should have won. That's how good he is right now, right? His game, B plus game, maybe B game. I would say maybe it was C plus game this past week with a couple of issues that he had. The big scary thing is, dude's gaining strokes on the green. If he keeps gaining these strokes on the green, watch out the rest of the tour. He can have a 5-6 win season. I think with a major. I think it's very, very possible. I don't see him slowing down. It doesn't look like the injury was really there. It was really affecting him last week. It looked fine. Other golfers, Alejandro Tosti. I love that guy. That guy's fucking hilarious. He made that par putt, I think it was on 16, and celebrated like he won a goddamn Ryder Cup. I love that guy. The stories that I keep hearing about him. I guess when last year during the Corn Ferry Tour, during the championships, when he got in, everyone who got into the PGA Tour, they had like a celebration, like in the clubhouse, like after the final round, right? And like it was an open bar. People were already drunk. People were drinking, getting their PGA Tour cards. Everyone was hyped. I forget who. I think it might have been Porter. The guy Porter, writer for something. Kyle Porter. He said this tweet. He has this story about Tosti that he literally just grabbed the bottle of champagne, chugged it to the face, the whole thing, threw the bottle into the motherfucking lake right by 18, and just put both of his hands up like he was from fucking Entourage and yelling, "Victory!" Like, right? I mean, I can imagine that. It had to have been a sight. Like, this guy's like becoming my favorite golfer, and I've maybe seen him play twice. I've maybe seen him play 2 times on TV. But the stories I hear of this guy, this dude is fucking hilarious. I heard him and Finau were fighting in round 1 and round 2 about who's going first. Finau is not the type to really get angry, right? He seems like a level-headed guy. He's got like 27 children. If you have 27 children, you probably have to be somewhat level-headed, right? I mean, but he was pissed. He was pissed. Tosti got him on tilt over there. I mean, I don't hate that in the game of golf, right? I mean, we don't see that anymore with all the guys that, could cause issues with other people basically going to live. But yeah, I can't wait to watch this guy more and more, and I hope he gets a win and is on tour for a while. What'd you think of the event?
I think Tosti, real quick, just on that one, and maybe it's because your hate for Kuchar, but Sergio tendencies. And even the one shot he had where he like hit it out of that area and did like the Sergio run up to follow and chase the shot. And then you talk about all the other stuff that, just the setup of having a villain, getting a guy like that that's just not afraid to speak his mind. He's different. All those factors. I definitely think that was an interesting one. Just heard that comparison and kind of linked it. Made a lot of sense. Other than that, happy to see Jaeger get the win. I saw a lot of people classifying that as a really bad week for Scheffler. I think they're over-amplifying the mistakes. He had
a bad week for Scheffler when he finished second. People are crazy.
Sorry, it's at you and others saying it's like a C game. I don't believe that was a C. If you look at the C, he was still top 3 tee to green. He was really good around the green, and that's become an underrated part of his game. He still did get some stuff going on the green, so people are amplifying the mistakes. But guess what? You said this should be hard. It's tough to win 3 weeks in a row on the tour. He almost did. He had the outs. It just reminds me of the variance of the game of like last year. Remember how many times last year we were giving Scheffler the win? This is another one. It feels just like that. Like, how did he not just win this? But then there's other cases like Finau missed a 2-footer on 16, went birdie out. He would have been in a playoff with Steven Jaeger. And, Jaeger needs Scheffler to miss the 5-footer. Like, it's great. I guess
being out getting steam heading into a major.
Either
be top 5 or you're fucked. Basically, it comes down to you're either going to top 5 or you're fucked.
Well, the thing is though too, because he's not here. The Finau always does well at the Masters, and Connors, of course, does as well. Who we'll talk about Corey Connors when we get to this week. But winning here twice in the last 4 years. First time off a Monday Q was sort of the storyline, and then get it done again here last year. It's like if he has a good week this week, you can already pre-build your Masters lineup. So have Finau and Connors right there built into them, because like what you just said with Finau, he's picking up steam coming in. Somebody else made the joke. I thought it was funny. Today's April Fool's. No jokes here, but this guy said, what'd they say? Oh yeah, he must have got the memo about the 25K a month that his wife put out there, 25K a week, sorry, and he started sharpening his game back up again with a little T2 action. But other than that,
it's not out of the realm of possibility that he doesn't know how much they're spending. You know what I'm saying?
Possible.
Like his wife seems like the one who's like in control.
The
right?
fan shows him the TikTok and is like, here you go. And he's like, wait a minute.
I would not have been shocked if he did not know. When you have that much money, right? And then your wife is the one that's, setting everything up with the family. You're just like, all right, just go ahead and do. I mean, I don't have a wife. So, Tambo, is this something that you would do, right? I mean, it would make sense, right? Like, if you had to go on a trip or something and you had to spend a lot of money, you just, hey, honey, why don't you go ahead and take care of this and spend what you want to spend?
Everyone's different with money, but I try and make sure my money is taken care of and keep track of it. And so I actually handle all the bookings and the rentals and the everything. And then my wife does the great job on the support side of things. 2 small children, taking care of them, making sure the stuff that, if I'm busy down here recording a show and they got bedtime right now, Daddy's already said his good nights and she's taking care of bedtime. So she's a rock star. But yeah, it is possible for a guy like Finau, like you said, just to say, hey, it's a lot more money than I would ever know about. So it's like, maybe he's just like, hey, you handle this. That Escalade shows up to pick us up. Great. It's a nice comfy Escalade. Oh shit, the chef made this for supper tonight, dinner, whatever. Oh, perfect. Let me eat that up. Not thinking about anything that they're signing the bill on at the end of the week. And he just hopes that he makes the cut and pays for it. But I will say this.
I know rich people, like rich men, who do that all the time. They have no idea what the fuck they're spending.
Oh yeah.
No idea.
I could definitely see it. I was listening to a podcast the other day. The guy was talking about, his wife bought $15,000 worth of bed sheets for the family and the kids. He's like, you know what? It's pretty comfortable. So he's like, I didn't mind. But then he's like, then I saw the price and I was like, even for us, that's a bit much. It was like a new, it's called like Money Wise or something. They talk to people that have high net worths and they don't always release them on what they are, but it's say like, hey,
I thought you were going to tell me the brand of the sheets because I sort of want them now.
No, too much.
Fuck, $15,000 sheets. I got to try. I need to know what the fuck $15,000 sheets feels like. Like, does it like, somehow in the middle of the night come alive and give you a handy or something like that? Like, for $15K,
do a lot.
I mean, shit's got to do something for me, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
The price breakdowns on those things, so maybe that would make sense. But I will say last thing on this one, we can move on, I guess, like some of the other guys that were in it, great to see. But it really still felt like one of the tournaments that, remember last week, Sundog, our boy, Martin, love the guy, just gave the break. This course, again, another one, played really well. This course played awesome. It gave us great golf. I'm just saying, can you imagine now if you brought all the other names into the mix and what the field strength could it be? Because, again, who cares? We got some excitement of this. All I will say, and I said this today on the First Look show, is that like you can, I feel like right now I can show up with 9 holes left and be just fine on a Sunday. Like I still am keeping track on Thursday and Friday. I'm tracking stuff and it's in the Discord and I'm into it. Saturday, same thing. If I know what your sweats are going into Saturday morning, Saturday evening, checking them for Sunday, I'm much more invested like you and most listening than people out there. I'm just saying it right now. This tournament, the way it's set up on Saturday night, is winning some tickets and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, I'm going to go to do this on Sunday morning. It's Easter. It's my daughter's birthday. It's all this stuff. So I was fine doing that stuff and then just catching the last 9 or 10 holes and watching it out. Like it was, I don't know. It just hasn't been super exciting for me. I don't know how you feel about that, but the course played great.
Here's the thing. I've had like massive sweats, like a bunch, like more than half the weeks in the last 8 weeks. It's been a very, very good, like 6-7 weeks for me. With that underdog score, my cash game has been hot. I've been having great GPP weeks, like actually winning in GPPs, right? I mean, not winning big, but like getting back more than I spend, right? It's happened a couple of times in GPPs in the last couple of weeks. So everything's been going well. And now that I'm talking about this, I totally forgot what the question was. Tambo,
Well, that's what I would ask. And it sounds like you are paying more attention because of the sweats.
Yes.
People always say, well, that's the only reason we're watching, blah, 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 which I get.
That's not the only reason. But like, I will say that like when I don't have a sweat, I'll have like my three side TVs on golf, and the main TV I'll be watching my stories or something like that. Now, if I have a sweat, I'll have all 4 TVs on golf that I have in my basement. Anything else before we move on?
No, I think we're good on that one.
Okay, so I have I guess this is a little mini story time. I got a good one for next week. I've been saving this one for next week for like 6 months. I'm still trying to get the story down so it'll be as funny as possible. But anyways, I need a little advice. All right, I posted this on Twitter this past week on X. So a buddy of mine, we renovated. He bought a townhouse, a 3-story townhouse in DC, right? And our company, we redid it to do 3 individual units, so he could rent out 2 of the other units, and he stays in the basement unit with his wife. So after we've been building this for him, we've become really good friends with him. He's really cool. We go out drinking. His wife's really cool. She's hot too. Go out drinking. They just moved to Miami, so they still have their place here, but they just moved to Miami. We're going to go see him in Miami here soon. Really, really cool guy. Now, when he was living there, like basically next door to his house is a weed shop, right? There's a weed store. And then next to the weed store is a old school, like DC urban, like Chinese food restaurant. Like urban as in like they're selling more chicken wings with mambo sauce than real Chinese food, right? Okay. And so, we built it, he moves in, and like the one thing he notices, like in the subfloor, in between the basement and the first floor, it's basically a rat highway. Like you can't sleep at night because there's like thousands of rats just going all over the place, like in that subfloor above him, making all this crazy noise at night, right? So he's killed 100, 200 rats, like in different various forms. But like they just keep coming back, multiplying. It's like he didn't even put a dent in it, right? These aren't like your small rats. These are like big motherfucking rats, right? Like the size of like a cat rats, right? And so he goes to his neighbor who owns the weed store, but the weed store is like in the middle floor, and the owner of the weed store lives on the top floor, okay? And so we were bullshitting. I was over there. We were bullshitting with the weed store and buying some weed, of course. And we were talking about him with the rat problem. He was like, "Oh man, what do you do? Like, how do you like live with all these rats around?" He was like, "Well, I have a basement. I've been here for 6 years. I have not stepped foot in my basement in 4 years." He says the rats took over and he just gave them the basement. He was like, "Fuck it. Rats, take the basement." Because there was like no way to get rid of them. And like he tried to rent it out and people will be sleeping down there and rats are just scurrying like, oh, because his place is like directly next door to the Chinese food restaurant. Right. And so rats are just everywhere in the basement. And he said he hasn't stepped foot in there. He says he hears crazy noises from the basement all night, has no idea how many rats actually live in his basement. And imagine being a rat there. Like it's like the perfect fucking place. You get the weed store upstairs and you get the Chinese food restaurant next door. What the fuck? Like, what else do you need as a rat? You're gonna be straight, right? And so they've been trying like all these different things to try and get these rats out of the house. Exterminator, it worked for a little bit, but then they came back. Poison, it worked for a little bit, then they came back. They called the city. City said they weren't gonna do shit about it. So my idea, okay, was to let loose like a swarm of black rat snakes in the area, right? Just let loose like a dozen black rat snakes in the area, right? Just to kill all these rats. But the thing is, the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I mean, shit, they're going to be like the apex predator. So it's either going to be like black rat snakes running all over the place or rats running all over the place, depending on who wins the black rat snake war, right? They're going to fight it out to the death. and like one animal is going to come out on top, and they're just going to run the whole streets, right? Well, I need some advice. Like, has anyone dealt with this type of problem in like an urban type of neighborhood? Like, what did you do to get rid of these rats? Because my boy, he moves back and forth from Miami to here, so he'll be coming back. And I told him, I was like, we're gonna find a way to get rid of these rats. I think the snake idea is a good idea, but everyone's telling me there'll be billions of snakes everywhere and it'll be bad. If you have an idea of how to get rid of these rats for me, please let me know in the comment section. Let's get it done. And let's segue into the comment section winner. Don't forget, go to the YouTube comment page, put down the winner, who you think is going to win, and your DK handle. The first person that picks the correct winner will be in our tournament, will be in our 3-man against Tambo and I the following week. You win that, you're automatically in our Tournament of Champions at the Sony Open in January. The winner this week was Fat Tony _1432. Fat Tony. Also, his YouTube name at Anthony Rodolfi 1468. You are the winner. Check your notifications, and we will be sending you an invite for the 3-man. All right, so before we move on, let's do our underdog segment. Last week, not great, I would have to say. After starting off really, really hot, last week I went 0 for 4. The shitty thing is 2 of the losses were literally by stroke, including the one that was on the podcast last week. So heartbreaking couple losses, but I mean, I really did think I was going to win every week for the rest of my life. So
you missed by one bogey last week?
Something like, yeah.
And I had Hostler hit the birdies, and I missed by one Steven Yeager birdie, and he goes on to win the tournament. It's like,
I know. What the fuck?
And one was a 4-way, depending on what way you went with Hostler. We said it, and both Hostler ways hit, except the bogeys. You needed one more bogey.
I needed one more.
They could have hit. He had like 4 holes left when you needed that bogey. So it was like it would have been either or. But then Yeager missed the one of the birdies down the early stretch. It was round 1.
Now I do have I think it's a good strategy for this week. Okay, so the Valero Texas Open, TPC San Antonio, one of the hardest courses to play par 5s. They started playing at TPC San Antonio in 2010. Since then, the average score for par 5 scoring, 4.9. 4.9. The most difficult set of par 5s on tour. Okay? So, what I'm targeting this week on the Underdog Pick'em is going to be guys that suck at par 5 scoring, right? And then the Pick'em play number is 18.5 cumulative strokes on par 5. So 2 guys off the break that I'm going higher than 18.5 cumulative par 5 strokes is going to be Ricky Fowler is the first one. Now, Fowler is 133rd in this field in strokes gained par 5 score. Okay? He's been sucking ass all year on it. These are the hardest par 5s. You only can reach 1 in 2. All the other 3 are over 600 yards. Okay? Ricky's not hitting 330, 270. I guess he could if you really got all of it. But it's going to be tough to do that. Now, the one thing about this course is the fairways are pretty firm. And the greens are pretty soft. So when it comes to the long iron play, slightly easier than probably other courses that we've seen recently. But still very, very important. And so that's one. Ricky Fowler, higher than 18.5 cumulative par 5 strokes. Next one is going to be Tommy Fleetwood. He ranks 132nd in this field in the last 24 rounds in strokes gained par 5 scoring. So I have him higher than 18.5 cumulative par 5 strokes. Now, I should just end there, right? That's what I said in week 1, that I'm only going to do 2 baggers for the round 1, but I'm a degenerate. And I'm going to add another one because this guy's been playing like straight booty hole the last 3 weeks. I'm going Nikolai Hogard higher than 2.5 bogeys. I think he had 5.5 more bogeys than the field average last time he played. 1.4 more bogeys than the average the last 2 times he's played. He's basically been losing in bogey avoidance the last 5 events he has played based upon the average in the field. So I'm going to go over 2.5 bogeys. This pays out, I think, times 5.5 or something like that. So it's a decent payout. Tambo.
I'm with you on one because it's very similar and almost like last week, but this one really can correlate nicely for you. I have Fowler higher than 2.5 bogeys or worse. And it's just what you said, a lot of the setup there. He's got a good history here. In general, we'll get to that when we get into the other stuff, but just to mention it, that was one. And then I'm going against another course history guy, my own one that you talked about earlier, throw the C's up, the Coco. He's like one of the only guys that has the 5 birdies or better. So I'm just going to take the under. Like there's guys that I think are better golfers than him, and I don't care about the 2 years that he won here and whatever else. And it's one round.
5 birdies is a lot here.
I think it's feels like a push or better. And maybe if he gets hot again, then, it's going to be the most, it's going to be the highest owned guy just crushing it on day one if that's what happens. But, happy to go against him here right now. And even lately, some decent finishes, but nothing insane. And it's round 1. It's one round of golf. So I'm going to go with Connors, lower than 5 birdies or better. Fowler, higher than 2.5 bogeys or worse. And by the way, Connors is a scorcher at that too. So it ends up getting close to 3-1.
Yeah. Fleetwood is a scorcher in mine too. So I threw that scorcher in there. It gives you a little bit of a bump up there. I think my $250 bet can win $1,300. So whatever that is, 5.2 or something like that is what it comes down to. All right. So before we move on, let's pay some bills. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the Pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a Pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the Pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant Pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, so let's get to this week. Golfers on the PGA Tour moved to Texas this week, or stay in Texas this week to play the Valero Texas Open from TPC San Antonio. The Texas Open is one of the oldest tournaments on tour, but only has been playing here at TPC San Antonio since 2010. TPC San Antonio consistently ranks as one of the 10 hardest courses on tour, but can play a bit easier in pristine weather conditions. The course was designed by Greg Norman in 2009. Supposedly Norman was going through a divorce at the time of making this course, and it somewhat shows in his layout. It's very long and difficult, especially if the wind blows. The par 5s, like I spoke about, are especially long, with most being close to 600 yards. The average score for the par 5s here since 2010 is around 4.9 strokes, which is the highest of any course on tour. The weather usually plays a factor here, as high winds are the norm. Scoring is varied from -12 to -20 over the past few years, and the reason for the difference in winning scores is because of the wind and weather. Be on the lookout for wave advantages, as they have been seen on this course in the past. In 2015, there was a 4 to 5 stroke difference from the morning wave to the afternoon wave. The weather, I haven't checked the weather forecast yet, so make sure you check it, as late as you can on Wednesday. One last tidbit, a lot of Australians tend to do well here. In interviews, many of them say that TPC San Antonio reminds them of courses back in their home country. Makes sense since Greg Norman designed it. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sergio helped with the redesign at this course. And so he has a little bit of influence on this course as well. And that makes sense with all the long irons that you're probably going to have to play. Probably not as much as we've seen the last couple of weeks because of how firm the fairways normally are. Now, we'll see if they are that, if it rains, what happens. I have not looked at weather at all yet. I can always look at it too early, and I get stuck in my head, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Just going to wait till fucking Wednesday, as late as possible, to look at the weather for the first time. That's just how I'm going to roll. All right, so TPC San Antonio, 7,450-ish yard par 72, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. Only 1 par 5. It's reachable by all. There are 58 bunkers on this course and water hazards on 3 holes. Off the tee, golfers will face tree-lined fairways. They get more narrow the farther from the tee box the drive goes, with large bunkers in play. Looking at the past winners, it doesn't really seem to favor bombers, even with the court's length. Part of this is due to the fact that the longer holes are usually played with the prevailing wind at the golfer's back, and the shorter holes normally have the prevailing winds in the golfer's face. Now, also, the strength of field hasn't really been that great at this event, and usually, the stronger the player, the longer they play, the longer they hit it off the tee. So that could be a little bit different because this is one of the strongest fields we've seen at this event ever. Hold on. Now, recently, we have seen an uptick of bombers do well here recently. Now, this could be due to the fact that the event shifted to a week before the Masters. Because of this shift, they've made the rough on the course much shorter than when the event was played in the summer. So that's something to think about. In the last couple of years, they've just been doing that to try and mimic Augusta since they're playing right afterwards. Now, one thing I will say about this with the Augusta narrative next week, 8 of the last 11 winners of the event prior to Augusta. It's been John Deere before. No, it's been some other tournaments. I forget which ones. But 8 of the last 11 winners the week before Augusta have been golfers who were not already playing the Masters. I don't know what you can make of that, but that's just something I thought was interesting when I was looking over everything. Native areas, also a big factor. You saw Kevin not do his thing with a 16 on 9. Golfers need to avoid the native areas or get lucky when they do hit into them to succeed this week. Tee shots in the short grass. These fairways. I just lost my whole entire spot. There we go. Golfers will need to get lucky to avoid these areas. Now, these fairways are some of the toughest on tour to hit, as only around 56% of tee shots land in the short grass. Like I said, the rough used to be a bit thicker on the course, but as stated earlier, since it's moved to the week before the Masters, we have seen the rough cut much shorter than the past. On approach shots, golfers are going to see average size greens that are multi-tiered, maybe slightly above average size greens that are multi-tiered with a lot of undulation. Like Augusta National, the edges around the greens are closely mowed, so many approach shots that just miss will lead to tricky up and downs from different collection areas or bunkers. Only around 57% of approach shots land on the greens. Again, a lot of this was from the summer times. I will say the main difference that you'll see in this course a lot of the times is the greens get watered a lot here, especially if it's hot. It's weird. Like the fairways are super firm. You can get rolled out, but the greens very receptive most of the time here. Now, if they've been on a drought or something like that, that could change, but that's what I've noticed here in the last couple of years. Now, getting it up and down from off the green is going to be important, but it's not really with only a 57% hit rate on the greens, but, it's not as difficult as Augusta. It's actually not that hard comparatively to most courses. The greens, receptive. Stick meter rating of around 11.5, but it's possible they speed it up with the Masters next week. The grass is going to be Bermuda, again, overseeded with Polo Trivialis, something we've seen a bunch in the last couple of months. You guys maybe can look at golfers who have been putting consistently well the last month or two on these types of greens. They're going back to it once again. Tambo, what are you looking for in golfers?
Well, you did a good job breaking it down. I think a couple notes. So, going to DraftKings quickly, the pricing brought back the 5K range still, because you mentioned it for next week, like with the Masters not having, and people were asking about that with the limited field and the setup of, having to fill a $10 with 495,000 people or whatever it is. I'm assuming that's why we don't see it for next week, right? It's a limited field. And they just want to be able to fill out lineups, make everything look like an all-star lineup, and that's fine. But I thought your point on cash was pretty interesting for this week. You can apply it to whatever you want. But like, if you use the 5K guy, you may get away with it because there is literal play. There's definitely playable guys down there. There's guys that and you have probably considered in the past. So that's one thing. It's the same way again this week. So there's that. And then two, like you talked about, while a guy like Campos last week can screw you, it can get you everything you need up at the top. So in tournaments where we have higher dollars, smaller fields, and you see 5 or 6s win them, can still get away with a more aggressive approach. It just made me think of that. We didn't talk a lot about that changing of the strategy, more so the other way of it, where you it's hard to pick your spot for these tournaments, so you may want to avoid them altogether. That's kind of a good theory for cash. And then the other point,
one thing I want to add about that is last week when the cut moved to +1, it went from 5% 6 of 6 to 25% 6 of 6 in double ups, right? So double ups were a quarter of the field at 6 of 6. I had 5 of 6 with the Campos miscut, but I still finished in the top 1% of all, top 3% of all double ups because it got me the other guys that I wanted. So that's just something to think about. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and that's sort of where I was going with it. And the other note you brought up, which I'm just going to reiterate, because to give an example, like Corey Connors wins this last year. I know it's the second time winning here, but just to note, no Rory, no Ludwig, no Spieth, no Kawa, no Homa, no Fitzpatrick, no Harmon, no Fleetwood, no Horschel, who's playing okay right now. And then there's guys like Henley, Scott, Tom Kim, all those guys not here. So while you said it earlier, Kenny, it's just to reiterate, is that a lot of these years, there's only been 3 or 4 of these guys in the top 15 as far as odds go, or price, or whatever you want to think about it as, where the field definitely got stronger for the Valero, right? So not going to worry too much about the other stuff. I mean, Spieth won it a year where everyone's like, oh, he's just here to tune up for the Masters. No, he's here to win the tournament that he's winning, so he's going to win it.
What are you doing about that narrative, Tambo? That's a good question, because I know that like Spieth has won before.
Yeah.
Not you. What's up?
I said ignoring it like always. Yeah.
Ignoring it. Okay.
Because it's bullshit. It's like, again, they're not like, oh, they're sitting here. They're not going to try and win the tournament. Like Spieth went on to win that year. It's like, it's just, they're going to win the tournament that's in front of them if they have a chance to win it. Winning.
Even Rory?
What?
Even Rory?
Yeah. I believe actually, I believe this is a chance for Rory to win the week before a major slam. Like if you look at it from the perspective,
really?
I think it was Kirshner tweeted it out. It was like, I think he's won the week before every major except the Masters, and now he's got a chance. I don't think he used to play the week before. I know
last year he played, and it looked like he just didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm worried about with him. Last year he played, looked like he didn't give two shits. That he was just working on crazy shots that he was going to hit at Augusta, and he missed the cut.
Yeah, so let's segue in, because I'll start it this week. It's Rory down to Colin Morikawa, and that's the first piece. One thing is definite is that Rory is not Scottie Scheffler. Not only recently from results, not only anything like that, but even in this field, the way it's set up, like with the pricing, it's 12-3, it's not 13. It's, there's other guys around that you can feel very similar, like Hideki just won, and he's way cheaper, and Rory's right there with a bunch of top 20s. It's not say, don't play Rory, or I'm not going there. I'm just explaining it's not going to be the same. For anybody out there that's wondering of some of these weeks where we've seen, like last week, almost, what was it, 50% on Scheffler or something like that in a lot of places? Like that, it's just not going to be that way. Obviously, Wyndham Clark's injury late in the week last week contributed a little bit to the extra on Scott. He went from like 40 to 50-ish or 48 or whatever, and then the Thigala ownership shot up as well. But I just don't think people are going to feel the need to go to Rory. And when you get to the 9K range with guys like Spieth, Connors, Benny Ann, Norin, Horschel in the 8Ks, like there's ways that people can get more balanced builds here. So I don't know if Rory's going to get, I'm not saying I should say that Rory's going to get left alone, because that's not true, because the pricing dictates that you can get to him easily, but I'm saying he'll be kept a lot more in check than a guy like Scheffler last week, and for good reason. So just a note on that.
Do you think he's the lowest owned guy above 10K?
I don't know how people would get to Kawa. That's the one I was struggling with. The only other guy. I know people are going to play Ludwig. I know people are going to be at least somewhat interested, and maybe not really heavily in Hideki, but at least with the 1st, the 12th, the 6th, the 15th here last year. I think people do get to Hideki.
People get on Kawa because force fit-wise, it seems like this is perfect for him, right?
Maybe. He'll have ownership for sure. I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying it's like really tough to say how Rory works out, but I think Rory still hits the 20s. Like he's still, it's when you see.
Oh, you still think he'll hit the 20s?
Okay. Yeah, so I get to cheat a little bit on Mondays because I do the first look show now, but I'm just saying what they've done lately, and they carried it over to this week, is even though the 7K range is shortened to 17 guys, well, all those 6K guys could be 7. Like there's a bunch of them that could be 7K guys. So
the 6K is in this type of pricing, the 6K is a new 7K. I don't even mind using 2 6K guys in the lineup.
Easily, when you see the names down there, it's like it's just simple to plug in 2 or 3 of them, and it's no different because in the 7s, there's already going to be 3 or 4 guys of the 17 only that you're like, 4 or 5 of them. Let's say you're like, I don't really like them. Well, even if you wanted to get the other guys in there and you're, shortening the 8K range a little bit, only playing a few guys up top, you still have a ton of 6K guys that you're probably using to fill out your rosters with. So that is one note. I guess for me up top, though, Ludwig is going to be super popular. So I'm curious to get your take on him. He could just beat up any course. Obviously, look at what he's been doing lately. Hideki, we talked about. I just, Macau is the tough one, but I think Rory, Decky, Ludwig are the ones that look best up top.
Yeah, Ludwig's my first cash game cornerstone. I mean, the thing about this course is, he's long and he's accurate off the tee. It seems like it's perfect for this type of course. I don't think he's going to back down and club down. These young bucks go out there, pound that driver, because honestly, the driver's the most forgiving club in the bag, man, right? Like, I hit driver, like, I got fitted for a braided driver. I got that TSR2 Titleist last year, spent fucking out my hand like $700 for that fucking one club, which is crazy. And the thing is, it's like the only club it's my most consistent club in the bag. My driver now is my most, and if these tour pros are playing similar, they're playing like souped up versions of what I'm playing. You know what I'm saying? And the way he hits it, and how far he hits it, and how accurate. The one thing that I really impressed about Oberg is, his bogey avoidance. Like, for a youngster who takes aggressive lines, who's aggressive off the tee, you would expect bogey avoidance to be a problem for him. He's 7th in this field in the last 24 rounds in bogey avoidance. That's something you're going to need at this course. So, top 20 in par 5 scoring. I love him this week. He's going to be my first cash game cornerstone. He might even be a bet. I didn't bet him yet, but it's possible. I think he can definitely win this event. Now, my favorite GPP play, and these were sort of interchangeable here between cash and GPPs. I just picked one. I love both these guys. Hideki. What can you say? The man's playing his best golf in the last couple of years, probably in the last 3 years. He is playing his best golf, probably since before the pandemic, maybe even. Like, I don't even know. He might have had like one other run after the pandemic, like he's on now. But it hasn't been as routine as it used to be when he was in his 20s. And now the way he's playing, the form is solid. He crushes par 5s, number 1 tee to green in this field, and number 1 around the green. Oh, one thing I didn't forget about Oberg is his around the green is his weakness, but it's not that difficult here. It's not like Augusta. It's not even like last week. Last week was pretty fucking hard. It is probably one of the easier around the green courses there is, probably top half of all courses that we play year in and year out. So that's where I'm going. I like Hideki. Oberg's going to be my first cash game cornerstone. 9K range, I'm just going to go ahead with Connors as my second cash game cornerstone. The guy just crushes it here. He has great form coming in, and he's $9,400. It's not backbreaking price. I'm just going to go ahead and use Corey as my second cash game cornerstone. Pretty simple. But I like I like this range. I like Fitz, Spieth, and On. I'd probably go On, Fitz, Spieth in that order. Spieth has played here before. He's got no problem. He looked sort of off last time he played, so maybe his ownership can get down a little bit. But I do like him. A ton of birdies. Really, really good for the bunkers. If you're going to miss around the greens here, and a lot of the times around the fairway, you're going to end up in a bunker. There's a lot of bunkers around here. He's solid at that, solid at par 5s. I like Spieth. Fitzy actually showed something last time after he took the weight off of his driver. How fucking crazy is that story, right? How do you not know that you have added weight in your driver for a year? And then afterwards, he goes out and finishes top 5, top 10 out there on whatever course that he played. I think he's back because the driver for a while was like the strides that Fitzpatrick made with his driver, hitting it so much farther, and being accurate about it. Now he's still with that weight, he was still hitting it far, but he was missing all over the place. Now, hopefully, that accuracy comes back. And it seems like everything else should fit well for him in this course. 175 to 200, he's solid. Really good on par fives. And again, betting on a good course history here. Almost used him in cash. Missed the cut last time, so I stayed away. But good from the bunker. Good around the green. Good on par fours. Good from 150 to 200. Those are three guys I'm definitely going to play. No doubt. Tambo.
Yeah, those are the three that I was interested in as well. And the Fitzpatrick one, I'm glad you brought up the driver stuff because that's sort of what I was thinking. Again, just 9,700, he's right there. Spieth. The one, I might go Fleetwood in this one. Maybe Fleetwood's a little bit inspired off of a Jaeger first win on the PGA Tour, and and Fleetwood could come out to again a guy that knows how to win or has proven he can win, but not on the PGA Tour.
The difference between Fleetwood and Jaeger is Jaeger's been playing well.
Yeah. I guess, it depends on how you classify. Like, for example, you give Hideki the 6th, 12th in the win, and he wasn't killing it before that, like a 71st, a 30th, a 22nd. You go to Fleetwood, there's a miscut there, but before there's a 10th, a 14th, a win overseas. Like, it's all in the same time frame. So, it's all how you classify it, but $9,200, there's also a bit of a discount. So I do have interest in this 9K range. I just think when people get it rolling, it's probably going to be like your cash game lineup that you see a lot of people start, like Ludwig, Connors, and down from there. Maybe they can fit another one in because they use a cheap guy. I'm just saying you can get different just in the 9K range if you don't love the top, or you can go with somebody up top like Hideki fits. How many lineups are going to start that way? Probably not as much or nearly as many as an Oberg with Connors, who we just talked about. So there's lots of ways you can flip it around, but Fitz, Spieth, Fleetwood, and then we'll see what I end up doing with Connors. He's going to be so popular, though, man. He just has to be. Right? And it's not really the same strength of field. Just because you beat up this course, it also kind of mattered who was in the field and all those things. So
I'm sort of worried about what happened last week because Scotty was 76% owned in cash. Right? He was 70 to 80% owned in cash. I had to have him. I had him, luckily. If you didn't, you better have had Jaeger. Right? I mean, because all the other studs up top sucked compared to him. So if you didn't
really add Jaeger, so it makes sense. But I know you're talking about a blocker. Like, Connor's going to be like 80%, so you just gotta have him because it's way easier that way. Yeah. Versus if somebody's playing in like a, people don't classify this stuff enough, but if you're playing in like a $188 satellite with like 15 people, and you think Connor's going to be 80% in that, it's awesome to have the other side because you just need one thing to go your way, and it's the same as everybody, but the 10 people, heads or tails, 9 people pick heads, you got to take tails. You get all of it. If not, it's not quite that extreme for that example, but if you think he's going to be 80, that's still close enough. So in cash, totally different game. I hear you. But in tournaments, I think all the other guys around him, like no one's going to play Max Homa. And I get it. I understand why you look, but an 8th and a 16th in that same time frame that you give Hideki a 6th and a 12th, but Hideki added a win. There's the difference. I get it. I'm just saying there's so many guys in this range that people aren't going to play that weren't even in the field when Connors was getting his wins. The first time Connors...
Almost interesting because I think he's going to be very low owned. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's a very, very good-looking leverage play. The more you look at it.
The play is it's crazy. Like when Connors won the first time, only Spieth and Homa were in this field of like the top 15 guys. And everyone say the same thing. Like, oh, Connors... He still would have played as good and still could have won. Sure. And we're just saying there's more outs. So the reason it's popping off the page phenomenally is because it's a 1 and a 1. When people are seeing the 2 wins, of course, can't take those away. And he plays well here and whatever. I'm just saying it's now.
I'll be below the field in GPP zone. I'll be 20%.
Yeah, more.
I'm sure he'll be higher. Sure he'll be higher.
It breeds more things too. Like if those guys were breathing down his neck, those events, or if there was more guys in contention, or who's to say, and it's all butterfly effect stuff where it's like one thing happens, the other thing happens. But in general, I just see like this range is loaded around him, right? Like there's lots of guys you can play around him and feel good about. And then take us into this 8K range. There's only 6 guys in the 9K range, 8 guys in the 8K range. So it's nuts. Only 14 guys from 8,000 to 9,900. But talk to us about this 8K range.
Third cash game cornerstone, Alex Noren. Form, solid. Course history, solid. First in bogey avoidance in this field. Top 5 in good drive percentage in this field. All in the last 24 rounds. Good drive percentage, something to take a peek at. Also, top 10 in par 5s. Good out of the bunker. The guy is top 30 strokes gained off the tee. Top 15 strokes gained tee to green. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me for Noren. Again, he's made every cut he's played this season. I think he's 9 for 9 now. Easy cash play for me. No problem. I sort of like Billy Obag. The guy's been playing pretty damn good golf here recently. Really strong finish last week, especially on Sunday. It looks like he's found his game because if you remember, like last year, this time he was lost, like crying and shit, like after like tournaments because like he couldn't find his game, right? And that's how golf gets you, right? And now confidence is there, styling, profiling, out there doing his thing, looking good. I like Billy Obag down here. I really like Zinhood at $8,000. I think that's a very, very, very good price for a guy who's been playing exceptional golf, who is top 25 in my model. Iron game has just been off the fucking charts, right? Really good, even crushing the par 4s. Really good from 175 to 150. Bogey avoidance, all there. He looks really solid. And I'll probably play a little Tommy Kim. Little Thomas the Train Engine Kim. This seems like a course that he can get right on, right? Going into it, he's sort of been off. The last time he played, it was, he had the fever, he had the withdrawal, he was sick. I don't think you have to worry about the Masters narrative. He's out there, he wants to win, he's super competitive. He's going to be decent off the tee. He's going to hit a lot of fairways, hopefully. So I do like Tommy. Who do you like?
How about this one real quick? 3 names, and you tell me which one's not in the Masters. Hogard, Horschel, and Lee Hodges.
Horschel.
There you go. More
motivation. Hodges won recently.
Yeah.
Hodges won recently. And Højgaard's like top 50, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, Horschel's out, though. So maybe everyone said, that's sort of part of the grind, too, right? You go, look, 7th, 12th, 9th in his last 3 was, pretty solid from what we've seen of him lately. So I think that's going to draw attention. Most people say just play him in Florida. Just play him on Bermuda greens, all these things. He's going to be grinding this week. So 8,900, he's there. Your Noren call, everyone's going to love that for good reason. Look at him, like you said, cut maker, good history, all the stats, everything's there.
He's really highly owned, though. People hate playing him, I feel like.
This week he'll be being played. He'll be getting played. I can promise you that, but that's fine.
I didn't realize Bazzino at 7,900, so.
That's fine. He's a good play down there, too. I don't mind that. I like a couple of these guys down at the bottom, though, that I don't know if they'll get played as much, is sort of that Scott, English, Henley range.
Those are the ones that no one's going to play.
Yeah, and it feels like all those guys can come through on a course like this. Like it was just recent. Henley got the 4th. Harris English, 19th, 21st, 7th, and 17th. His last 4. Like what's the difference? That's just as good. Noren is 11. So Noren, 11th, 19th, 9th, and 53rd. In this exact same time frame at some of the same tournaments, Harris English is 19th, 21st, 7th, and 17th. A lot of crossover, like not much difference, just to say it. And then Scott, you mentioned earlier, actually talking about the divorce course that they're playing on this week, which is the setup here is a little tougher, but you talk about the Australians and that sort of stuff. Like Adam Scott, and how many times have I said this? Doesn't always fully work out for me, but even recent, the 45th and the miscut sucked, but before that, 7th, 8th, 19th, 20th. Bounce back, this is the type of course I could see him doing it on. And talking about the setup, Augusta National setup, we got a guy there that you can talk about with Adam Scott, the course fit-wise, and then the strength of field. It's stronger for a Valero, but he's way up in the charts as sort of the strength of this field based on a guy who comes 20th all the time in the toughest fields in golf. So can he come with the top 20 here at 8,500, top 10? Yeah, I think he can, and then maybe he can do a little bit more. So I like those guys down at the bottom there a little bit just to stand out, and then the guys I mentioned up top. But that's probably it for the 8K range.
7K, like I said, I like Baz. I like Rye, but every time I like Rye and I play Rye, he sucks ass. And I feel like he's going to be popular, and so he's probably going to be a fade for me, just not based on anything except for the fact that whenever he's popular, he sucks. And whenever no one's on him, he balls out. So that's what I feel like with Rye. But everything looks good for him. I can't tell you not to play him. He's actually top 5 in my model. But I would rather, I play Akshay. Well, I mean, coming in with like 3 really good finishes in a row on somewhat similar type courses. The guy's hot. He's out there balling. I like Akshay a lot there. Going down a little bit lower, Ekro is a guy I'm going to be targeting in the lower 7K range. He's missed every cut that he's played here, but this motherfucker ain't the same Austin Ekro that he was, during those years where he missed the cut. The guy's, was playing exceptionally well. The iron game, really, really good. Above average in par 5, par 4 scoring from 150 to 175. Good drive percentage. Makes plenty of birdies. Top 6 in 175 and 200. I like Ekro a lot. I'm tempted to even use him in cash, even though he's not even made a cut at this event ever. But we'll see. I'll have to think about that. Hubbard, another guy down low at the 7K range. Again, iron play good. Really, really good at par 5 scoring. That's something you're going to need here. Really good from 175 to 200. And I forgot, Killer Keith. Where was Keith Mitchell? 7,600. He's another guy I'll be looking at. Actually comes in number 2 in my model. The thing about him is you think of him as a long driver of the ball. Number 1 in stroke gain approach in the last 24 rounds in this field. Like recently, he has been very, very good. He came back from, I think he made the cut, even though he imploded the week before. Did he make the cut last week, Tambo? I don't remember.
Keith Mitchell?
No, he missed the cut. He missed the cut. All right, so maybe people won't be on him, but I think I could jump back on him with the flop lag. Who do you like, Tambo?
A couple of those guys. Yeah, like Akshay for sure. He hurt me last week. I had him top eight places. I thought he was going to do the whole thing. At one point, he had a horrible back 9 on Sunday, and it wasn't like he made big mistakes. He just didn't capitalize on anything, and so he missed and came T11. So that cost me. But I think Bez, Akshay, I think Mitchell, I think Hostler too, and then it's a guy down there at 7,300, Lucas Glover. Just pulling him up here, see it's 11th, 30th, 35th, 35th. Solid here, 14th, 4th, 18th, 45th. It's fine for 7,300. I just don't know if he can get a bunch of love down there in this range. So I think it's sort of the guys up at the top and then pick and choose your spots down here. Hubbard looks okay. I like your Ekro call, different golfer now than he was before. I like Glover. So the big debate will come in like the Hostler, McCarthy, McNeely, EBR, and Hogard range. What are you doing with those 5 guys? What sort of any of those stand out to you?
Hogard's definitely a fade for me. He's just been playing like dog shit here recently. None of those, maybe EVR, but none of them are really catching my eye.
Maybe Mav. I don't know. Mav's been okay. 9th, 13th, 6th, 3 of his last 5. So I don't know, but yeah. 6K range. What do you got here? Doug Gim, by the way, right at the top, 6,900.
Yeah, I like Ryan Moore as my final Cascade cornerstone. Again, really good finishes leading up to here. Really solid track record at this event. I think he had a top 10 here a couple of years ago. The guy's been playing just really, really good golf. It seems like he's sort of been rejuvenated in the last month or two. His iron play has just been excellent. Second in the field in the last 24 rounds. 7th strokes gained tee to green in the last 24 rounds. I'm definitely going to be playing Ryan Moore. So my Cascade cornerstones for this week are going to be Ludwig Oberg at 10,500, Corey Connors at 9,400, Alex Noren at 8,700, and Mr. Moore at 6,500. It still leaves you, I don't know, like 14K or more, almost 15K to finish out the rest of your lineup. Other guys I'm looking at in this 6K range, I'm going to have to go back to Andrew Novak. Again, rates iron play solid. Really good from the bunkers. Really good par 5 player. Bogey wins top 15 in this field. So I like him. I like Lee Hodges. Good form coming in. Good form at this course. Numbers aren't the best, but sometimes when you go down this low, you just avoid that and look at what he's been doing recently form-wise and how he's done on this course before. So I like them. Charlie Hoffman. This used to be the Charlie Hoffman Open, right? He showed some glimpses here this season. Didn't he finish runner-up at an event about a month and a half ago? I mean, for that price for a guy who loves this course, loves Texas, I'll go ahead and throw a flyer on him. Alejandro Tosti. I'll play him just because I just like him. I just want to follow him. I have a reason to follow him on Side Tracker. I just want a reason to follow him on a featured group just so I could see his ass do something wild, because he is going to do something fucking crazy on the golf course at some point in his career. It's going to be insane. Like, you're going to be like, what the fuck? This is the guy that's going to do it. And I can't wait for it to happen, and I need to watch it live. Okay, so who do you like in this range, Tambo?
This is the range I was saying earlier. There's a lot of guys you could make cases for because it all, like, some of them playing well right now. You're talking about Tosti coming off a good one, Schmid coming off of a good one. Then there's guys that we like it, like Grazerman just played good, but just to say it, like, there's other guys, Ryan Moore, who you mentioned, Novak, hasn't played okay lately, but some of the ones that stood out were probably who's going to be popular. Like, first off, I saw Lee Hodges to start the day, and not only did he play well here last year, he's got like 3 solid finishes coming in. He's just 6,700. So I don't know who will come in more popular. I like Mayo's boy, Davis Thompson. He just finished 21st. He's got a 15th, 24, but he's got a bunch of top 25s in like 4 of his last 7 events. So it's like, that to me is the guy I'll take a shot on. Schenk fits that mold. A couple others there, I guess that's just sort of the ones that stood out to me. And then going to the bottom of this range, Nate Lashley at 6,200. Yes. I liked him last week too. And yeah, 21st, 13th, has a third earlier.
Good finish last week.
13th, yeah, I think, right? Yeah. So anyway, he's at 6,200. I think he's interesting. Bramlett played pretty good again. He pops to the course fit rankings a little bit here. After that, I guess Bridgman. Who else? Someone else I had starred down here. Palmer in Texas is in the 5K range, but I'll let you go ahead. Anybody else in the bottom 6s that you like?
If we're going really low in the 6K range, who do I have marked down here? I don't know. What the heck happened? Hold on, my salary is all messed up. Go ahead to this 5K range while I adjust this.
Yeah, I was just going to the Palmer in Texas thing is going to come up, obviously, and here this course back in the day used to do well, but like recently it's not been good for him. So
Joel Damon, 6,100. I'll play a little Damon, 6,100. Again, his iron play is good. He missed a cut last week, but his irons are always solid. Good drive percentage is really, really high. I think this course can suit him pretty well.
And he was there to congratulate Jaeger too at the end.
He was.
Yeah. Parker Cootie, 5,600.
That guy just makes cuts, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't have much else down here though, man. This is where it gets tough. Like I said, the thing is this week, the 6K range of 6,000 and up, even whatever range there you want to start at, but 6K and up is all solid. Like, there's enough guys between 6 and 6,900 to fill out your pool and still get aggressive lineups, to your point, if you're using multiples. So I think you're fine here, but I don't see anyone crazy in the 5K range that I feel like I must have or anything like that.
Sam Stevens piques my interest anytime. It looks like he's sort of found his way after going through a little bad spell. But anytime it's a driver-heavy course, I'm going to play Sam Stevens, especially at a small price like that. Joe Highsmith, didn't he? Am I wrong? Or was it like, what?
Hole in one.
Joe Highsmith?
I think so, right?
Well, I thought he had a really good finish last week, or he was up there at some point in time and then fell off. Am I wrong about this?
No, he finished 21st, and I also
he had a pretty good finish last week, and I saw a lot of them on TV coverage, so he must have been doing okay. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some of him in there. Again, another guy who plays par 5s pretty damn well out there. Other guys, Kevin Streeland showed a little something his last time out. I think he was first round leader. He finished outside the top 30, but I don't think he's missed a cut here in like 27 years. So him and Kuchar, right? Him and Kuchar are 2 old heads who just play this course year in and year out and just make the cut, right? So there's someone to look at. Kevin Doherty at 5,500. Again, a good putter who avoids bogeys, really, really strong off the tee. A really, really good par 5 score. Good drive percentage, top 5 in his field in the last 24 rounds. He's been playing decent golf, making a lot of cuts. His price doesn't go up. He was in my best lineup last week. At one point in time, he was top 50 in the $5 drive to green on Sunday. It dropped to like 705 because that's how I roll on GPPs every week. but he was in that lineup. So that's another guy that I'll probably be looking at. It's not barren down here. I mean, you can find some heads up in this piece down here in the 5K range.
Yeah, you can make a case. Like you brought up the Streelman Kuchar point you brought up. Highsmith was the hole-out eagle. It was Chang Kim had the ace last week. Highsmith had the hole-out eagle and had a good week overall. But yeah, the range is definitely, it definitely has guys that you could use. It's just, again, then you got to sort of pick and choose your spots, and I recommend you take a little bit of a stand. But again, the 6K range for sure is much stronger because they're basically a lot of guys that could be in the 7s. But then you could argue some of those 5s could be upper 6s. So yeah, it's just all however you shake it out. But definitely a good way to look at it, a little bit different.
All right, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and do your bets. You got any bets, Tambo?
I took 2. I got Lashley 140 with 8 places, and then I got Akshay Bhatia again at 50 with 5 places. So see if I'm gonna double down on that guy. Last week I had him and Horschel. I thought he was gonna do something for me. I'm gonna double down on Bhatia.
All right, so I got Tom Kim 35-1 with 8 places. I got Akshay 40-1 with 8 places. What number did you get?
50 with 5.
Okay, I think it was 55 with 5 in my book, but it's they're changing that shit up on the one that's open 365 days a year. They're definitely changing it up. They're making the 8 places. They're dropping the prices down. I'm sort of bitter about that because I've had 4 each ways and 2 winners in the last 8 weeks. So I got to pay like a whole bunch more extra to get the right amount that I want back when it comes to each ways. Also, Lee Hodges, 80-1, 8 places. Ryan Moore, 100-1, 8 places. I'll probably add 1 or 2 more as the week goes on. One and done. So I'm in this league. It's called the Slider Cup, right? It's a bunch of like local guys in the DC area. The local sports radio, Sports Junkies. They're the number 1 sports radio show in the area. I'm friends with a couple of those guys. So they're in the pool. It's like 40 different ones. You pick 1 international and 1 American. And last week I had Detry and Horschel. It was a really good week. I jumped up huge. But of course I had Siwoo in the Mayo Cup, who only finished 17th. This week, I don't know, man. Why don't you go ahead with the one and done, because I forgot to even look.
Why don't you take Tosti?
I don't know about that though.
I don't know. I got to see who I have still, but I guess my internal debate. I know I have both these guys was Rory and Spieth. It's like, do you take Spieth this week and then Rory next week, or do you take Rory this week and laugh about it when he does nothing at the Masters and Spieth goes on to get it and flip them that way? What would you do? Probably. Plus, I got Rahm still to use next week, or DJ.
I got Scheffler for next week. I already am locked. I still have Scheffler for next week.
Why not use Rahm next week instead of Scheffler?
Because I think Rahm is going to win the U.S. Open. He's going to have a better time at the U.S. Open. I don't really like new live guys in their first Masters. It's a crazy narrative, right? But I mean, you're getting fat. You're living large, and yes, you want to get ready for the Masters, but I know Cam Smith last year had a really hard time. He said his game was like 65% at the Masters.
Maybe Cam this year.
There's this fucking around, right? He was fucking around. So I like Rahm at the later majors. I use Koepka at the PGA. I'll use Rahm at the U.S. Open, and I don't know who I'll use. I think I'll use Rory at the Open Championship, because I still have Rory left, and I picked Rory to win the Open Championship earlier this year. When it comes to one and done, I might go. I mean, I have no fucking clue, dude. I've used all my guys. Maybe Connors, just for the fuck of it, just be like, fuck it, use them. Connors or Norin or something like that. Maybe Bez. I haven't decided. I'll have to look through it again.
Yeah, I like using some of those guys, like you mentioned, like a Connors, just to use them, a Norin, Bez. You mentioned those guys. I think that would be fine, and just save some of these other big dogs, because that's where it makes me think. And then you mentioned too, like if you're going to use a Brooks or a Cam Smith or someone like that at the Masters, save Rahm for the U.S. Open and then keep Rory for the Open and just let Rory get through all the other majors and figure it out the last one. Maybe that's the way to do it. So
I feel like I have to use Scheffler because he doesn't win after April. Does he have a single win after April?
I don't know.
I don't think he does.
I remember there was a stat about him, but people talked about him. I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a narrative, whatever. But hey, sorry, I got to use him. But I didn't use him last week, so I have to use him at the Masters. So that's what I'm going to use. All right, anything else, Tambo? Why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, find me on X at Toe and Tambo. The tidbits to be out on Wednesday morning, and then big thing is right now, just go to shipitnation.com. Go to join the nation. Click the PGA only packages. This is why I'm telling you to do it because it's free. Don't get me wrong here. It's free. Don't even have to sign up for this if you don't want to. Just to go get it for free. Go to the weekly. Use the code PGA free. PGA FREE. You get this week. As long as you sign up by Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, you get the week for free. Check out all the PGA content we got. The hope is you like what you see. You stick around. You can hit me up if you have any questions, feedback, concerns. But maybe you could cancel your other memberships. Whatever you got to do and just stick around at Ship It Nation. So check it out. ShipItNation.com. Get the weekly package, go to code, and put in PGA free for the PGA only.
All right, first day, make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Mayo, get a deposit match up to $100. We've been printing money over there at Underdog. Make sure you go check it out. You can find me on X at TendoVT. You can find my article every week on gupscorner.com. The final betting card's been sort of hot. Also, a lot of good other information about the course, some trends. I'll go over my favorite GBP plays, fade of the week, all that good shit. Comes out Mondays and Wednesdays. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a sub to Gups Corner. All right, yes, I'm wearing the same gear that I wore last week because the Capitals have taken the 7th spot in the playoffs. It's going to be another good week. This should be a fun tournament. The Masters coming up next week. Let's win some motherfucking money, Degen Nation, so we can blow it at the Masters.